Wow!
This is absolutely shocking. Traore is building the biggest canal in Africa, a jaw-dropping $90 billion mega project that will connect landlocked Burkina Faso directly to the Atlantic Ocean through a neighboring coastal country, stretching over 1,200 kilometers. This engineering giant will be wide enough for cargo ships, equipped with 20 massive locks, and supported by huge artificial lakes to control water flow year-round. Funded by BRICS nations and Gulf investors, the canal is designed to slash trade transport times by 70%, turning Ouagadougou from an inland city into a bustling global port. Experts say this single project could flood the economy with billions in revenue, attract massive foreign investment, and give Burkina Faso one of the most strategic maritime positions in West Africa. If completed by the proposed 2040 deadline, the Great Burkina Canal won't just change the map, it could completely rewrite the balance of power in the region. Engineers claim the project's underground sections will be the longest covered waterway tunnels in the world, protecting it from sabotage and climate change.
Why does a continent cradling rivers older than empires still see its children drink from mud? In the heart of West Africa, over 30 million souls across Mali, Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso have knelt in prayer for rain, while foreign headlines dismiss their lands as lost causes. Tonight, that narrative shatters. 1,000 kilometers of steel, sweat, and unyielding will now forge a lifeline of water, food, and dignity. Stay with me until the final word to witness how Ibrahim Traore, a son of the Sahel, breaks the ancient curse of barren soil. If you believe Africa must rise, hit subscribe and type rising in the comments to let the world hear your voice. For generations, the Sahel has been a land of promises whispered in hope and broken in despair. Ancient maps trace rivers that have long ceased to flow, wells that echo with emptiness, and graves of cattle that perished under a merciless sun while aid agencies churned out new slogans. In Mali, Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso, every rainy season was a cruel gamble. Sometimes the clouds parted with mercy, but more often, they passed in silence. Hunger, however, never missed its mark. Villages once vibrant with millet and rice fields turned to dust. Children born in mud huts learned to count years not by birthdays but by droughts. Each election season, a new phase would climb onto a rusty pickup truck, swearing to build canals, drill deeper wells, and deliver hope. But when rains failed, roads cracked, and aid vanished into the pockets of the corrupt, the people were left alone, gazing at the sky, begging clouds for compassion. Can you imagine the weight in a mother's heart as her son bends over a dry well, clutching a cracked bucket? Or the shame of a father, once a proud herdsman, selling his last goat to buy water from a passing truck? Foreign cameras captured these moments, branding them the African tragedy, images of children with swollen bellies and cracked lips, but they never stayed to ask who promised pipes that never came or where aid checks vanished like morning mist. Year after year, the West sent consultants, experts, and briefcase-carrying men who measured soil and debated water tables in air-conditioned conference rooms. Reports piled high like termite mounds, but the rivers remained dry and the Sahel, the ancient backbone of West Africa, bled life into the sand. Millions drifted south or across borders, refugees not of war but of thirst. Governments unveiled master plans, waving shiny brochures and staging photos of leaders pointing at maps. Foreign investors nodded, signed memorandums, and shook hands, but no bulldozers roared, no channels pierced the dust. The people learned to survive without believing, teaching their children resilience instead of hope. Then, a whisper stirred, a rumor that grew into a chant across market stalls, mosques, and dusty town squares. A new leader was coming. His name was Ibrahim Traore. Young, bold, and unafraid to dig where others only talked, he didn't hide behind protocol or wear polished suits. He walked barefoot through parched fields, sat with elders under baobab trees, and asked simple, piercing questions. Where should the water go first? Which land thirsts most? For the first time in decades, bulldozers roared to life without waiting for donor money. Engineers returned from Europe and local youth, once dreaming of fleeing north for jobs, picked up shovels and GPS tablets. 1,000 kilometers of canal began carving into the Sahel's bones, not with foreign pity from London or Paris, but with African hands and African dreams. This is not just irrigation, it's a rebellion against centuries of silence. If you believe Africa should no longer beg for rain, type rising in the comments to show our elders, our children, and the world that we are done with empty promises. Ibrahim Traore didn't arrive with a convoy of black SUVs or imported water bottles for staged photos. He brought a question so heavy it silenced even the oldest chiefs. What if we stop begging and start digging? Under the Sahil's unrelenting sun, this captain became a student of his people. He walked ancient riverbeds now turned to sand, listened to elders recount tales of grandfathers building mud dams with bare hands. He saw past the hunger splashed across headlines, seeing instead a soil still rich with possibility and a people unbroken despite centuries of being told to wait, to bow, to accept crumbs while their diamonds and gold sailed away on foreign ships. Traore stood before a cabinet of soldiers and civilians and declared, "We will build our river where none exists, or we will perish trying. No deals with those who mock our struggle, only equals will stand beside us." Western commentators sneered, calling him a populist with a megaphone and no plan. Think tanks in distant capitals argued the Sahel was too fragile for grand dreams. But in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger and Chad, farmers and herders spoke his name with a reverence once reserved for prophets. While experts debated, Traore's engineers unpacked survey drones bought with crypto reserves, not IMF loans. Young Burkina graduates, who once queued for visas to Paris, now lined up to sign contracts building canals in their own villages. When foreign advisors warned of risks, he smiled and said, "The only risk is doing nothing." He knew every kilometer of canal would be fought for twice, first against the sun and sand that swallowed machines overnight, then against whisper campaigns branding him a dictator, a nationalist, a geopolitical wild card. Under acacia trees near his mother's village, he told his people, "They built railways to steal our gold, I built canals to feed our children." Word spread like fire on the Harmattan wind. Old men leaned on sticks, eyes wet with disbelief, watching bulldozers roll across the plains. Women formed cooperatives to cook for laborers. Children ran barefoot beside machines, chanting, "Water is coming, Ibrahim Traore is coming." This was no longer a government project, it was a people's covenant. For every meter dug, a rumor of Africa's helplessness died. For every trench lined with concrete, a lie about our weakness cracked and fell away. Villagers called it by its true name, freedom flowing through their veins. Stand on the canal's edge today, and you'll hear two sounds that don't belong together, the rumble of machinery chewing centuries-old earth and the quiet prayers of elders that their grandchildren will never know thirst. This living artery, wide enough for 2 trucks to pass, is fed by pumping stations the size of football fields, rising like fortresses of hope. Hundreds of kilometers of feeder ditches snake out like veins, connecting villages that for decades never dreamed of running water outside the rainy season. Yet behind every meter of poured concrete lies a battle few cameras capture. By the time the first 300 kilometers were complete, sabotage had begun. Some called it environmental concern, but others knew better. Powerful figures whose control relied on water scarcity, donations, and foreign pity dollars. Rumors spread that Traore's plan would collapse under desert winds or technical flaws, but they underestimated a people too long betrayed by friend and foe. Traore answered with the simplest weapon, progress that could not be denied. In Mali, nomadic herders who once clashed with farmers over dying watering holes now share wells refilled by the canal's flow. In Niger, young men who once joined rebel bands for money now earn wages laying pipelines and guarding pump stations. In Chad, old tribal feuds soften beside irrigation ponds where children splash and mango trees bloom for the first time in decades. Western think tanks rushed to frame the canal as a reckless gamble, an ecological time bomb. Meanwhile, Traore planted rows of neem and baobab along the banks, building green walls to hold back erosion and feed goats and cattle. Burkina youth studied drone footage to detect leaks and illegal siphons, fixing them before trouble spread. This is what sets Ibrahim Traore apart. He never lets words outwork action. When critics claimed solar pumps would fail, he signed deals with South Korean engineers to train local technicians. When rumors said foreign contractors would abandon the project, he showed up unannounced at work sites, standing ankle-deep in fresh concrete, daring any man to slack off under his gaze. While old powers measured the canal in dollars, he measured it in trust, sweat, and a currency the West cannot grasp, dignity. This was never just an irrigation plan, it was a revolt carved into earth and stone. Every kilometer defies a century of humiliation. Every drop washes away decades of dependence. Ask any grandmother now tending a co-op farm plot who owns this water. She'll answer, we do, not the state, not some corporation from across the ocean. We do. Brothers and sisters, pause and breathe in this truth. Where once there were child soldiers, there are now child shepherds herding fattened flocks by the canal's banks. Where hunger forced parents to sell daughters into marriage, there are now fields of rice and millet owned by those same families, no longer needing charity to survive. No army could win this battle with bullets. Ibrahim Traore wins it with concrete, canals, forests, fish ponds, schools, and satellite tech watching every meter so corruption finds no shelter. If your heart agrees, if your elders would smile to see this truth, comment rising now. Let them know across oceans that Africa is not waiting politely anymore. We are digging, planting, and feeding ourselves. Close your eyes and picture the Sahel 5 years from now. The air no longer stings with dust but tastes fresh with river mist. Rows of emerald green rice wave in the breeze, reflecting the sun like fields of jewels across the Sahel's back. A boy who once carried a jerry can for miles to fetch muddy water now kicks a football with friends under mango trees, their roots drinking deep from the canal's veins. In his yard, a tap sings at the twist of his small hand. His mother tends a garden patch behind the house, growing tomatoes, onions, and peppers that once cost half a day's wages at the market. Step into a village school, newly painted by local volunteers. Children recite math lessons while a teacher explains how to measure water flow using drones and satellite data. These same tech their older brothers operate to monitor leaks and protect pumps from theft. What was once a classroom for charity handouts is now a training ground for Africa's next generation of water guardians. This green transformation fuels a quiet revolution in trade. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, once net importers of grains, now bundle rice, vegetables, and cotton for shipment to neighboring regions. Small processing plants sprout along the canal's path, turning raw harvests into packaged goods sold from Niamey to Accra. Each bag of rice, each bottle of oil, carries a silent message: Africa feeds itself first. Ibrahim Traore's canal didn't just water crops, it seeded thousands of micro-businesses. Women's cooperatives lease irrigated plots to grow fresh produce year-round. Local craftsmen build affordable greenhouses and solar pumps. Former rebels become registered suppliers of fish hatchlings and goat herds fattened by lush pastures along the banks. Corruption fades where opportunity grows. Beyond food lies health. Clean water means fewer children battling diarrhea and parasites. Clinics once overwhelmed with sickness now focus on vaccines and nutrition. Life expectancy, long shackled by malnutrition and dirty water, climbs steadily upward. A new proverb whispers through the Sahel: where the canal runs, death turns its face away. Foreign news channels, once quick to show Burkina Faso only in chaos, now film documentaries on the green miracle of the Sahel. Of course, some still search for cracks, but every crack is patched by farmers and local councils who know this truth. This water belongs to us, so the work is ours too. Mali signs agreements to stretch canal branches toward old cotton farms abandoned since colonial times. Niger uses its share to expand date palm groves and revive camel herds for desert trade. Chad petitions for an eastern extension, dreaming of oases lost for a century. What began as one nation's risk now flows through the veins of a subregion, turning old borders into bridges. Ibrahim Traore does not stand on podiums boasting of trophies. He walks fields where old men salute him, not as a president but as the stubborn son who refused to let the Sahel die thirsty. He knows this canal is not finished just because concrete walls stand firm. It must flow forever, guarded by unity, protected by truth, multiplied by new ideas. Brothers and sisters, remember this: water gave life to our ancestors, was stolen to break our backs, and now returns as a sword and shield in our hands. The Sahel will no longer beg for clouds or pity. It will sell crops, share rivers, and stand equal among nations that once saw only its dry bones. If you feel this hope pushing against your chest, don't keep it inside. Write rising in the comments. Share this story with your neighbor, your brother, your children. Before the first shovel broke the ground, before a single drop carved its path, the real river had already begun, in our chests. Ibrahim Traore's river is not just in the Sahel, it's in you. Every time you teach your child that our land is sacred, not for sale, you widen its banks. Every time you refuse silence when leaders steal what should feed the poor, you deepen its channel. You may live far from Burkina Faso, in New York, Lagos or London, but you hold the Sam River inside you. Every dollar spent supporting a local farmer, every vote for honesty over easy lies, pours fresh water into this canal of hope. Some will mock this movement, calling it a dam, a trench, a photo opportunity. Let them talk. While they talk, we build. While they plot, we plant. While they scoff, we teach our children the truth. We are not poor, we are plundered. We are not backward, we are rising. Remember Ibrahim Traore when another crisis comes, and foreign tongues claim Africa must borrow its future. Remember him when they say we cannot govern ourselves or feed our children without their loans and pity. He is proof that a good seed planted in African soil can burst through rock and bloom rivers where deserts once laughed at our tears. Tonight, we stand at the banks of two rivers, one carved into the Sahel's earth, the other running wild in your bones. Feed both. Protect both. Pass both to your sons and daughters. If your blood beats louder now, write rising once more in the comments. Share this with your brother, tell it to your children. The Sahel did not wait for rescue, it rescued itself. Ibrahim Traore, the captain who walked dry plains and planted rivers where others sowed excuses, has shown us the blueprint. Now it's our turn to carry water to every dry heart, from Burkina Faso to every corner where African blood beats.
Thank you for standing with us, for standing with the truth, and for standing with President Ibrahim Traore. In these trying times, your voice is powerful. Don't just watch, be part of the movement. Subscribe to stay updated, share to awaken others, and head to the comment section. Tell us how you feel, what you believe, and what Africa means to you. Together we are louder, together we are stronger. This is Young